You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with the one and only Sharon Engel. And of course, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commando Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. As producer Rick Trader would say, we are everywhere. Sharon Engel, welcome to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you, Anna Lou. It's always wonderful to be here with you on our own Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, I would like to know, given what is going on in Washington, D.C., there's so much going on in Washington, D.C., what is on your mind this day?
Well, I think everybody's mind is on this health care bill. There seems to be so much controversy around it. I'm really eager to be interviewing one of our guests today, former Congressman Paul Brown. He's got a take on this as well, and I'm interested in hearing what his take is, because I'm hearing that it doesn't do enough, that it does some things, that it leaves things up to our Department of Health and Human Resources Secretary Tom Price, that it's just not really where we wanted to go, and it certainly isn't a repeal like the people mandated. So I'm really interested to hear what our guests are thinking about this health care bill that's been finally passed and is going on to the Senate. And I guess the next thing, it just comes right down to our economy. You know, we're looking like we're going to kick the can down the road one more time. Instead of having a budget, we're just going to do reconciliation, and we're going to have to deal with this again later on this year, because it looks like Republicans are afraid that they don't want to do what's necessary to really rein in what we know is overreaching and out of control government. And they're just kind of saying, well, the next election cycle's coming up. How can I just get around this to get it reelected and move my political career forward? So if that's what's going on, I think that the American people have really had it, Anna Little.
I agree, Sharon. You know, I think there's a misunderstanding between the American people and the leadership of the GOP. I think the leadership of the GOP wanted anybody but Donald Trump to be president. And of course, the people stood up and put Donald Trump in as the Republican nominee. And then, to everyone's surprise in the GOP, he actually won and is now president of the United States. And still you have groups like the Tuesday Group, the liberal faction of the Republican Party, and the Main Street Partnership, which is also a liberal faction, in my opinion, of the Republican Party, because those two groups of elected officials tend to outnumber the Liberty Caucus, which I believe is the most in line with the people who just elected this president. Just because those elected officials outnumber other elected officials doesn't mean they're in line with the people, given the way things have been progressing. I believe we, the people, tolerate certain liberal Republicans in order to get a Republican majority, but make no mistake, if we, the people, realize that we need a conservative Republican majority to get things done, well, I think they'll deliver that, Sharon Engel, because they delivered us the House in a Republican majority. They delivered us the Senate in a Republican majority. They elected an out-of-the-ordinary Republican nominee and made him president. I think if we tell them we need to have a conservative Republican majority, they're going to deliver it. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right, Anna Little, and I think all that the people are looking for is those conservatives that will run for office. Sometimes we just don't have a choice. It's a liberal Republican or a Democrat. What kind of a choice is that? And when we are faced with those kinds of choices, we're really very lackluster at the polls. We sometimes don't even go and vote because we don't want to hold our nose and vote for either one of those choices. And it's really hard to inspire voters to go when you don't have a clear choice to vote for. What you're doing is voting for the lesser of two evils or voting against someone rather than having a clear choice to vote for. And I think that's what people are really looking for in this next round in 2018, because as you say, we've given them the majority in the Congress, given them the presidency. That's what they said they needed to have some backbone. And now we're seeing that they still don't have that backbone that we need. I think the thing that is most disconcerting to me is how they attack the conservatives. It's all the conservatives' fault, when what we really know is happening is that they ganged up on the conservatives with the Democrats, saying, let's point our finger that way. Let's make sure that everybody hears the personal attack rather than looks at the issues and looks at what we're actually doing, which is not too much.
Well, Sharon, I think you're giving Nevadans a clear choice out there in your congressional district. Talk to us about how you're a clear choice and very different from who your opponent would be meant to be.
Okay, so thank you for giving me an opportunity to have a commercial here with the last few minutes of this segment before we go to break. Thank you, Anna Little. That's correct. I announced in March that I was running for U.S. Congress, our seat here, CD2 in northern Nevada. It is clearly a conservative seat, has always voted conservative, and they need a representative that votes conservative in the Congress. And as we've seen right since Donald Trump took over the presidency, that he can't do this by himself. He has to have people with backbone in the Congress. They're the legislators. He can instigate legislation. He can say, this is what I'd like to see. He can take away the executive orders. He can do lots from the presidency, but one thing he can't do constitutionally is make laws. And we shouldn't allow him to do that, Anna Little. That our Constitution says our representatives make those laws and repeal laws. And so what we need is representatives that truly understand the Constitution and are strong enough in character and integrity to go and do the job that is required in Washington, D.C., and that is, don't get sucked into that tidal pool, the swamp, as President Trump calls it. Don't get sucked in there. Remember where you live, remember who you represent, and go and do the job that you were elected to do.
Yeah, and you're to carry the voice of the people forward, and I know, Sharon Engel, you can do that. So I want to thank you for being one of those conservatives willing to step away from your personal life, which is quite busy, by the way. I happen to know a little about your personal life there, Grandma. You've got that little boy who's just thriving. We have to talk about that at some point. But you've stepped away from your personal life. You've made that sacrifice for your fellow Americans, and you're willing to step forward and run for office and be that conservative voice in Congress. So I'm with you. I'm rooting for you, and I want to thank you.
Well, thank you. And, Anna, I said the president couldn't do it alone. Well, I can't do it alone either. And we've talked about this many times, that when you run for an office like U.S. Congress, you need an army to help. And I know that you've run for Congress before. You had a little group called Anna's Army, and they weren't such a little group, but they were willing to go and do whatever needed to be done in order to convince the voters that there was a true choice out there. And so that's what I'm going to make that call right now out to my fellow Nevadans. I need an army. I need people that will help me go before the legislature and convince our legislature that even though they may have the option to keep Obamacare, they really shouldn't. And even though they can fund Planned Parenthood from our state legislature, they really shouldn't. There are a lot of things that we can do as Nevadans right now to convince not only our state legislators, but those in Washington, D.C., that we're serious. We're serious about taking our government back. And so that's why we need that army. We also need that army to help us do the fundraising that it requires to run for Congress. As you know, and it takes money, and that's a sad commentary on where we've gotten as a country when it takes money to run for office, and not just personal integrity and character and the vote of the people. But it does take money, and that's what we do with that money is we go out there and show others who they need to, who is out there, what their choices are. And with that, Anna, we have to go to a break because we need to identify our sponsors and how we are able to be here at Conservative Commandos radio show. So we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos radio network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM FM 24/7. Those are all .com. So we'll be right back after this message with yours truly, Sharon Engel, and my co-host, Anna Little.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, redstatetalkradio.com. And now you can listen to those conservative commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Sharon Engel, we are back from our break. And before we go into introducing our guests, I want you to tell our listeners where they can plug in with your campaign. You said you need money. You said you need an army of volunteers. You've got to tell them where to plug in so they can sign up and donate.
Thank you, Anna. That's SharonAngle.com. Easy, right? SharonAngle.com, SharonAngle.com. And they can go to the contact page and just send me a message. It comes right into my email. Just send me a message, say I want to be part of that army that you talked about on Conservative Commandos radio show. And if you want to donate, just press the donate button. Simple as that, SharonAngle.com. Thanks, Anna, for letting me do my commercial. You know, we've got a great show lined up today for our listeners. You want to go through our introductions, I guess, of the show that's going to come?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this show. You know, I've been running around between New Jersey and Washington, D.C., and I bump into some of these folks. And one of the very dynamic people that I bumped into is this Tina Whittington, who's the executive vice president of a group called Students for Life of America. Now, Tina is really inspirational to me. In 1999, she started working full-time in the pro-life movement as a project manager for a group called Rock for Life. And they are a really dynamic group of people. Lots of energy there. While there, she put together pro-life literature, wrote for the monthly newsletter, spoke at high schools and colleges, organized events, and toured with Christian bands in sharing the pro-life message from stage at hundreds of concerts and music festivals. She was also a guest on Fox News, Loveline with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew, and she debated Dr. Rebecca Gompertz, who's the founder of Women on Waves, on the Alan Colmes radio show. So this is not a wilting rose. This is a woman who knows how to stand her ground and put her positions forward. Now, she did leave Rock for Life in 2001 to focus on her growing family. She was a mommy CEO, and she did receive some training to be a lay counselor for Rachel's Vineyard retreat team. Now, Rachel's Vineyard is very important because it works with women who are suffering in the post-abortive situation, and it does show women that their babies forgive them, that God forgives them, and they need to forgive themselves, and that they can teach others through their negative experience and not be controlled by it or beaten by it. So we're really excited to talk about Students for Life of America with Tina Whittington today. And she's going to talk about a particular program they have going on right now, and it's called Sock It to Planned Parenthood. SOCK, Sock It, IT, number 2, PP, Sock It to PP, and she's going to tell us what that's all about. And then we have another guest right after her at 4 o'clock with Michael Israel. Michael Israel is the president of Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future. Now, this is another young people's organization focused in the pro-life movement. The Pro-Life Future group in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, is a group of young pro-life adults, and their focus is to create a culture of life through education, activism, and change. They use hashtags like pro-peace, pro-woman, and pro-life. I love those because I'm always wishing people joy and peace and love. And so pro-peace, pro-woman, and pro-life. But they also have an event coming up, and that event is on May the 11th. It's at the St. Elizabeth Catholic Church Parish Hall in Whitehall, PA. That's 618 Fullerton Avenue in Whitehall, PA, 18078. And you can find it on Eventbrite if you look up Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future, and that event will be there. You can register using Eventbrite. But they are showing a free movie screening of Because of Gracia, and the main actor, Chris Massoglia, and also Jason Jones, the founder of Movies to Movement and the movie producer of Bella and Crescendo, is going to be there. So I think it's really important for you to mark your calendars, May the 11th. If you don't live in Pennsylvania, that's okay. travel there. It's worth the travel to meet Jason Jones. He is an inspiration all by himself. And then to see the movie and to meet the main actor, Chris Missaglia. So I'm excited to talk with Michael Israel, president of Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future, about this event on May the 11th and about what they're doing as young pro-life adults in Lehigh Valley.
And our last guest today will be former Congressman Paul Brown, who is a doctor and a primary care physician who represented the 10th Congressional District in Georgia. And while serving in Congress, he was appointed to the House Homeland Security Committee, the House Committee on Natural Resources, and served as the chairman of Investigations and Oversight Committee for the House Science and Technology Committee. As a doctor, I expected him to be on the Health and Human Services Committee, but he wasn't there. However, he did author some repeal Obamacare legislation, and we're asking him to come and give us his take on the new repeal Obamacare legislation. Is it really a repeal? Is it just Obamacare light? What is really going on in Washington, D.C., and why is this happening? You know, you and I sit from the outside sometimes, Anna, and just scratch our heads wondering, what are they really doing in Washington, D.C.? And I know there's a lot of Americans just like us going, what's going on? They're attacking one another instead of attacking the problem. So we've asked Dr. Paul Brown to come on and talk from his expertise as a doctor with what Obamacare has really done to this nation, how it has interfered with the relationship of the doctor and the patient. I know that's near to your heart, Anna Little, and also how it has interfered constitutionally with what we do here in America, which is just free markets. Let free markets move, and that's partly what insurance companies are about. There should be a part of the free market, not something that the government has now come in and regulated to the point where there is no free market.
Yeah, well, you know, I like to talk about healthcare in this way. I'm a daughter, and I'm a mother, and I'm a wife, and I feel that it's my responsibility to take care of my family. And I say, woe it is to the government bureaucrat who would put themselves between me and my family. I will not tolerate that, and I don't think any American should tolerate that. Healthcare decisions are right there with the right to life. We have three important inalienable rights: the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life is first and foremost, and medical care goes right hand in hand with that. So we need to protect our rights in this department. And I don't want any government bureaucrat getting between me and my family. I don't think any American should allow it.
Well, I think that it also goes along with the right to liberty and pursuit of happiness. If you can't get the health care that you need and the health care that you want, and the health care that you choose, then you're not going to be a very happy camper, because anytime we have to settle for less than what we need or want or choose, it makes us unhappy, and we start to wonder about, do we live in a constitutional republic, or are we in some other situation that more closely resembles governments that our founding fathers at least ran away from? And with that, Anna, we have to go to a short break, and then we'll be back with our first guest. So we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. This is Sharon Angle with my co-host Anna Little, and we'll be right back after this brief message with our first guest, Tina Whittington.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to RedStateTalkRadio.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine. Tina Whittington is the Executive Vice President of Students for Life of America. She left Rock for Life in 2001 to focus on a growing family, working as Mommy CEO and receiving training to be a lay counselor for Rachel's Vineyard retreat team. And Tina graduated from Portland Community College with an Associate of Arts degree. Tina is now the Executive Vice President of Students for Life. And Tina, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thanks for having me on today, Sharon. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about your socket to PT, and I want you to tell our listeners what do we mean when we say socket to PT?
Well, we have been talking about the need to defund Planned Parenthood for so many years here at Students for Life. We know that they are our nation's largest abortion provider, and they also receive over $500 million of our taxpayer dollars every year. And so we've been going on to campuses for the last 5 years talking about, Planned Parenthood, what they do, how abortion is their business. And, 5 years of this and not seeing much movement on Capitol Hill and getting the defunding done, we were kind of frustrated, I guess you could say, and people were just sort of getting a little burnt out about what do we do about this? How many more times can we call our congressman or senator? How can we get this message to really be seen and heard? And we were talking about this as one of our regional coordinators sent us this picture of a student who'd pinned on a baby sock on her backpack. Her and her Students for Life group on campus all did this to try to engage their peers in talking to them. Like, why do you have that sock pinned on you? And our communications director was joking, well, what if we had a sock to represent all these babies that Planned Parenthood aborts every year, these voiceless victims of Planned Parenthood, and we just put it on a dump truck and dumped it on Capitol Hill, and we laughed, and then we started going, wait a minute, what if we did do that? So, Planned Parenthood Every year, they abort 323,999 babies, and these are really the voiceless victims of Planned Parenthood. These are the boys and girls who don't have a name, don't get to celebrate a birthday, and whose mothers leave Planned Parenthood's doors, hurt mentally, psychologically, emotionally, sometimes even physically by Planned Parenthood, the abortion industry. And so that's really where this was born out of, these students on campus pinning socks and us just realizing what could be more of a visual for our members of Congress, our senators, than these baby socks that should have feet in them, but don't because of Planned Parenthood. So that was sort of, we decided we were going to sock it to Planned Parenthood.
And when we say sock it, it's SOCKIT, number two, and then PP, right?
PP. Yep, so it's SOCKIT, number two, pp.com is our website, and we're still collecting socks. We know we got the healthcare vote yesterday, but there's still more work to do, so we're planning on bringing these socks back out. I think we've got some senators who maybe need to who may be on the in the middle on this, that we might be able to push over to our side if we keep pushing them on how important it is to defund Planned Parenthood and stand up for these voiceless victims. So we've already collected 192,970 socks, halfway to collecting all these socks. We delivered them to Congress, not this week, but the week before, at a big rally at Capitol Hill. And if you go to our Facebook.com/Students for Life, you can see all the pictures of the socks. It was just such a huge visual having that there on the Hill. We had Senator Sass from Nebraska come out and accept the socks on behalf of Congress and speak out about the importance of defunding America's abortion Goliath, Planned Parenthood. We also had Sue Thayer out there, the Parenthood director, who really brought to light that abortion is the driver of Planned Parenthood's, profit, and how workers are taught how to convince women who come in there to get an abortion. And she's the one that just really laid out that visual, and you can watch because of just for her to see all these socks and know that she worked for this abortion Goliath for so many years and thinking, all these socks should have a little foot in them and never will. And just, how devastating that is for our country, for these mothers and fathers who've lost their children through abortion. So
you've already had one rally in this Sock It to PP effort. I know because I was there, and I think it was a week ago Wednesday. You guys were out on the lawn of Capitol Hill. Tell me how that all came together.
Yeah, how did that all come together? Well, let me tell you something. Capitol Hill security is serious business. I cannot believe we had to take our U-Haul to go through security. They unloaded and opened every box of socks, had dogs sniff it, and loaded it back in the U-Haul so we could bring it over. We had a cavalry of awesome pro-life generation students who came and helped us carry socks and just display them kind of in this big heap. We also had 100 laundry baskets that each represented one day of abortions, 888 abortions every day in the U.S. And after this rally, our students gathered up these baskets, 100 baskets, and took them over to Paul Ryan's office to present to him, because we know at that point, it had been 100 days that President Trump has been in office and nothing has happened, and just trying to show him, you're the leader here. You need to help us get some progress and make something happen. And yesterday was a really good sign for us, I think, with the vote on health care. There's still more work to do, but it was a great first step. It was awesome going to his office and presenting him with these 100 baskets of socks, and just really making a statement.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that in the Obamacare repeal and replace that just finally happened in the House yesterday, that there was a defunding of Planned Parenthood involved in that, and that if that does carry through in the context of Obamacare in the Senate as well, I don't care if it's 51 votes. I don't care if we need the VP to do the tiebreaker. But if we carry through with defunding Planned Parenthood in the health care bill, then it's quite possible that we'll be able to do it again in the budget when it comes time in August or September. So I think it's really important to keep the pressure on, and I'm really proud of you guys for doing that. So what should our listeners be doing to support you in your Socket to PP effort right now?
So here's what we're still doing. We're still, go to the website, socket2pp.com, and we're asking you to pin a sock, because right now more than ever, when you pin that sock on you, you buy a pair of baby socks, you pin one on you, and you get in conversations with people, because they're going to ask you, why do you have a baby sock pinned onto your purse or your jacket or whatever? And that's your opportunity to open up that door to talk about how important it is to defund Planned Parenthood. And, they've asked you, so you have that platform to respond, and then send in the other sock to us so that we can continue collecting them, so we can deliver them again, pushing this forward. We've got some really great digital kits. If you're a student, if you are a church member who wants to get your church involved, we can email you a digital kit with church flyers that you can put in great action items so that people can sign the message to Congress to send it back with the socks. But there's some really great tools online if you want to help us continue to talk about this. We had almost 100 churches in the first week we did this participate by putting the church bulletin insert in their bulletin, it at church, and then having people bring in socks over the next 2 Sundays to send in with messages to Congress. And so it was just a great way. I think that this is an important thing for people of faith to even talk about within the church body, because, we're not talking about it enough.
We're talking here with Tina Whittington. Hello, Anna and Tina. We're talking with Tina Whittington, and we need to go to a break, Tina, but we'd love for you to stay through the break so that we can talk to you after. Can you do that with us?
Yes, of course.
We're coming to you live from Conservative Commando's Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. We'll be right back after these short messages with yours truly, Sharon Angle, the one and only Anna Little, and our special guest with Socket 2, Tina Whittington, right after these messages.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty Health Share. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners, to Conservative Commando's radio show. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. Now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And we're here talking with our special guest, Tina Whittington. Tina, I want you to start out again with the socket to me. I'm just in laughing mode, but give us your website again. And then I want to talk a little bit about the health care bill and what it does do to Planned Parenthood. Socket to Planned Parenthood is your website. So give us that again.
Yep, it's socket2pp.com. Socket2pp.com.
Now, we're trying to socket to Planned Parenthood with this health care bill and also with the continuation of the budget plan, but are we really getting there? Talk a little bit about this legislation that was just passed. Does that really get there, or is it just another, we promise this will work? We're going to let Tom Price do the hard lifting on this. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing as far as this new healthcare plan is going.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Planned Parenthood actually receives federal funds there's different avenues, right, for their federal funding. One is through their billing of Medicaid, but there's also money that comes through direct federal funds through grants, programs like Title 10, Title 9, Title 20, and Title 5. So those are all funding sources for them. This vote will take away about 400
their accessible dollars
that they get every year from us. One thing that we really believe is that even if we could defund them this money, or even all the money, just for 1 year, we would really cripple their business. And I think for us, at any point where we can take away federal dollars, because these federal dollars go in and, one, we know money's fungible, right? Even though this money can't directly pay for abortions, but it can pay to help keep the lights on. It can pay people's salaries. It can do other things that keep their business afloat, because really they rely on abortion services because that's the most expensive thing. That's the biggest price point for them, and that's why they push that. So this money from us, my money, your money, Sharon, is going to keep Planned Parenthood afloat, and this is the first big step to taking that away from them. We've seen a lot of their affiliates and centers close, and their affiliates get smaller over the past couple of years with state defunding and other efforts. And so we know, because of that pattern in the past few years, that what can happen here is we can see even more of their their feeder clinics. So they've got their abortion business centers, their mega centers where they're performing a lot of abortions, but they've got these feeder centers that are using a lot of our grant money to keep them afloat and keep women pouring in to their abortion doors. And this will sort of close those outreaches for Planned Parenthood and really truly reduce the amount of abortions that are going to be happening. And it's going to take that same money that was supposed to go to Planned Parenthood before this, and instead it will go to federally qualified healthcare centers. And we know FQHCs provide more services to more women and can build up a community in ways that Planned Parenthood never could.
So what we're talking about is incrementalism again. We're not going to actually defund Planned Parenthood. We're just going to take away the majority of their money in these grants, is what you're telling us.
Yes, and so the healthcare one is the first big one. It's their biggest revenue source, and then it's the Title IX money and some other grants that are smaller revenue streams for them. So it's a win. It's not defunding 100%, but it's we're 80% of the way there.
I hope you're correct in that 80%. I know that there are people that are pretty unhappy with this because it didn't do the 100%, and you're saying we're not ever going to get 100% on the first try.
No, because the revenue comes through, one is through healthcare, and then it's these several other grants. And so, no, I don't believe that there is a silver bullet to defunding Planned Parenthood. There's just 5 or 6 that all need to be fired around the same time. But like I said, if you can take off the biggest stream, even just if it's for a year, even if it's for the next 4 years, I think we'll see a radically reduced ability for Planned Parenthood to function and push women to abortion.
Now, when you gave the statistic on the number of abortions that Planned Parenthood does, that isn't the total number of abortions that happen in this country, is it, Tina?
No, they provide, I'm going to be wrong on this statistic. I know they provide over half of all the abortions in the country. I think it's 70%. I think it's 7 out of every 10 abortions in the U.S. is done at a Planned Parenthood facility. Now, I could be wrong. I'm willing to be corrected, but I know it's over half.
So when we defund Planned Parenthood, we still haven't eradicated the abortion industry itself.
No, but here's the thing. Planned Parenthood, they are the message drivers of the abortion industry. They're the ones that go in and help pay for attorneys, help cover up things like Gosnell's House of Horrors. They're the ones that are pushing forth or fighting legislation that creates, common sense restrictions for abortion facilities to have to adhere to. So they're the drivers on the political side of things. They spent over $6 million this last election cycle trying to get Hillary Clinton elected. They spend all kinds of money because they also have a C4 and a PAC. And so they are, driving politics. They are driving messaging. They have a huge advertising budget. So I think, does it eliminate the abortion industry? No. But again, it takes the feet out from under them. And I think once we see Planned Parenthood no longer having the platform to drive, elections, legislation, and messaging, we will see a gap that the pro-life movement, the conservative movement, can stand up into and start addressing how we really care about women and how abortion isn't the answer for them.
Now, I live in a blue state, Nevada, and our legislature is in session right now as we speak, and they are talking about if Planned Parenthood funding goes away, we're going to fund Planned Parenthood through our state. Does any of this stop a state like Nevada from funding Planned Parenthood, or will it just go along business as usual here in Nevada?
So that's when we look to Tom Price. He's the one that's going to have to set up some of the rules. So he actually can determine who can and can't receive funds, even when it comes down to the states. So definitely more work to be done. It's not over. It's not over. And I think as we move forward, we're going to start identifying what is the next battle, and I honestly right now don't know what it is because we haven't even passed this through the Senate yet.
Well, unfortunately, it is over here for us on Conservative Commando's radio show. Could you give us one more time that website where our listeners can help you?
Yeah, it's sockit2 pp.com, and I recommend you go to our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/students for life, all spelled out, and see those pictures of all those socks that were put up on Capitol Hill. It's mind-blowing.
We will, for sure. Thank you so much, Tina Whittington, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos radio show. We hope you'll come back and do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. We're coming to you live from Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, King98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. We'll be right back after this message with yours truly, Sharon Angle, and my co-host, the one and only Anna Little.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, fellow patriots. The Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we're trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader, the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Anna Little and Sharon Angle. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, RedStateTalkRadio.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine, Michael Israel of Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future. He's the president of this organization, a group of young pro-life adults creating a culture of life through education, activism, and change. They use hashtags pro-peace, pro-woman, and pro-life. Michael Israel, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Well, I want to thank you very much for all the work you're doing out there in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Tell me, how did you get involved with an organization called Pro-Life Future?
So actually, Pro-Life Future is an offshoot of the campus organization Students for Life of America. Students for Life has about 1,000 groups, college, high school, and middle school. And this is a very new organization. Our group is 1 year old. The national group is about 2 years old. The purpose of the group was Students for Life was spending a lot of money, time, and effort educating college students, and then they graduated and they no longer had a place in the pro-life movement. They found that a lot of the people were generally older, and they no longer had that leadership role anymore. The purpose of Pro-Life Future was to fill in that gap. So I had heard about it, and I decided to send an email to the organization and to get started. And so did my vice president, Anna Lee. We sent an email at the same time, and we both got together and co-founded it. So that's how it came about.
Well, that's pretty exciting. You know, I love the fact that this movement is being led by young people like yourselves, because very often women in crisis pregnancies, I mean, obviously it can be all ages, but women in crisis pregnancies emerge in young adulthood. And it's easier, I think, for them to relate to people of their own age. So I love the idea of this Pro-Life Future group. Now, you've got an event that's coming up. I know we talked about it before coming on air today a little bit. Would you like to tell our listeners about your event?
Yeah, I would love to. So the event is actually a movie. It's a movie screening. It's produced by Jason Jones, who's actually going to be there. And the movie is called Because of Gracia. I'm going to read you a quick description of the movie. So it's about young love, two couples, but it's got kind of a heavy Christian faith background without it being, in my view, overwhelming. So Chase Morgan would love to live up to his own name and pursue something great. It's his senior year, and he's still as insecure as ever. But East Glen High's newest student is about to turn that around. Gracia is a girl with charisma, intelligence, and conviction, but she's not as put together as Chase and his best friend Obi might think. A dark past gives her a unique connection with Bobby, a misunderstood classmate with a pushy boyfriend and a disconnected father. As Bobby struggles with a life-and-death decision and Chase risks rejection, Gracia challenges her friends, teachers, and even herself to step outside the status quo. Because of Gracia's inspiring strength, those around her are finding it easier to speak up and fall in love. So I saw this movie. I think it's a really, really good movie. Movies about love are not necessarily always my thing. And, but this one, it takes faith, and it makes it a very integral part of the story. Sometimes Christian movies are a little bit heavy-handed for me, but this one it enhances the story greatly by adding to the character's conviction and strength and kind of guiding them along so that they're able to make the right decisions. It's a very, very powerful movie, and I think it's the exact movie that our culture needs right now.
Well, I'm excited about your movie, and you've mentioned Jason Jones. I know him from Movies to Movement. I know he did Crescendo and Bella, and those were terrific movies, too. I know he's going to be there, but I think you also have another special guest who has agreed to be there. Isn't that right?
Yeah, one of the stars, he's a young adult as well, Chris Massaglia. He's going to be there. He is the main boyfriend. He plays a character named Chase, who is pursuing the girl Gracia. And it definitely shows he's raised in kind of a strong Christian faith, but he doesn't really get too involved with it until the girl Gracia kind of challenges him, and he uses his faith to become a better person, to kind of overcome some of Gracia's difficulties in life.
Yeah, and so I'm excited for you that you have both the actor and the producer there, or at least promoter there, at your event. Now, your event is taking place at a church, is that right?
Yeah, it's at St. Elizabeth Catholic Church in Whitehall. That's 618 Fullerton Avenue. I know that some people will be coming from out of state or a little bit further away. So type in St. Elizabeth Catholic Church in Whitehall. That should bring it up. And if you would like to RSVP, please either call or send an email to Lehigh Valley at prolifefuture.org. That's Lehigh, LEHIGH Valley at prolifefuture.org. Right now, this is actually the most popular event that we've ever had. We have 70 RSVPs. We've got room for 250, but we know that it's filling up really fast.
Okay, well, that sounds like a pretty good way of getting there. I'm St. Elizabeth Catholic Church in Whitehall, 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 PA. So, listeners, if you want to head on out to Whitehall, PA, it's May the 11th, right? May the 11th, and they're asking you to arrive 7:30 in the evening, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what if we have some listeners, this show gets around. We're in several states, about 10 to be exact. If people can't come out to Whitehall, PA on May the 11th, of course, we want you all listeners to come. But if there are some that just can't seem to get out there, they have schedule conflicts, or maybe the cost of travel is prohibitive, what can they do to support the efforts of Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future?
Sure. So what you can do is you can look us up on our Facebook page. You can search Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future and like us, as well as going to that email address, lehighvalley@prolifefuture.org. If you'd like to make a donation, if you'd like to perhaps start a chapter in your own city, or see if there is a chapter in your city that you can support as well. Currently, I believe that there's like 18 cities that have chapters, including San Francisco, which is actually run by an atheist, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really the pro-life movement for the youth is a truly universal movement. It's, everyone, all races, all religious beliefs, everything. There's one in Boston, there's one in D.C., New York City, Orange County, Denver, Chicago, Hartford, northern New Jersey, and there's ones that are being formed all the time. So like I said, if you're not nearby us, see if there's one by you that you can support. And if you'd really like to support our efforts, we would really, really appreciate it. Write us at Lehigh Valley at prolifefuture.org, and we could definitely put you in touch and see what you'd be able to do for us. Again, we know that a lot of your listeners are pro-life. Generally, the Conservative Party is pretty pro-life. Republican platform is pro-life, and the Democratic Party is somewhat purging their pro-life members at this point, unfortunately, because we do actually have quite a few members who are not necessarily at home in the Conservative Party, but would be a little bit more liberal. So they're becoming homeless.
Well, we're going to take them in because we love pro-lifers. Anybody that's on the side of life is a compatriot of mine. But with that, Michael, I need you to hold on for just a minute because we've got to go to a quick break to identify the station. So hang on, don't go away. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with the one and only Sharon Angle, and we'll be right back with our special guest, Michael Israel from Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future. Come on back and see us.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners, to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm here with my co-host, Anna Little, and our special guest, Michael Israel of Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future. Now, Michael, you talked a little bit about the national outreach of your group. I want to continue on in that vein. I'm very interested in your movie. Is it going to be shown anyplace else but Pennsylvania? How do listeners across the nation get to go see your movie?
Well, it's actually not our movie. We're just promoting it. And I don't know. The movie is coming out in theaters in September. So we're just basically doing the pre-screening. Probably the best way, if you wanted to bring it to your city or see if it was there, you would probably want to check out Movie to Movement and reach out to Jason Jones and the producer. That's actually how we got it. So May 11th is actually our 1-year anniversary. We launched last year on May 11th. We had a launch party, and we've been pretty active since then. But this was our party, and one of the members in our group suggested, why don't we do a movie screening? So we reached out to Jason, who said he was going to be in Pennsylvania. He was in Philadelphia like the day before, so he decided that he would be willing to come to the Lehigh Valley. It's actually really been... It's been a tremendous blessing for our group because all the pro-life organizations, Silent No More, Lehigh, Pennsylvanians for Human Life, Helpers of God's Precious Infants, the Diocese of Allentown. We're not religiously affiliated with any group, but the Catholic Church has certainly been of great assistance to us, as well as all the Respect Life parish committees at the different parishes. They've all been reaching out to all of their networks. It's just... That's when I started this organization. That was my dream, that all of these different organizations would begin to work together as one, because they have the funds, they have the resources, and we have the energy. We have the youth and the excitement. And when they see our faces, they just get excited and they feel like a renewed hope again in the pro-life movement.
Well, I was glad to hear you talk a little bit about the pro-life movement. And before you go any further, I want to just reiterate that if our listeners would like to have movie come we're getting a little feedback here. If they'd like to have this movie come to their community, they can go to Movie to Movement. Is that on that's a .com or .org? How do they find it on the internet, Michael?
Let me check. Yeah, I would just Google Movie to Movement and be able to find it, and then reach out to the coordinator. That's basically what we had done. Movie to Movement.
Well, I'll just encourage all of our listeners to go to Movie to Movement, Google that, and get this movie in their town.
No, it is movie2movement.com. Because we had done it directly through Jason because we had contacts from him through the March for Life. So that's why I wasn't as sure how to get it into other cities. So I apologize. It is movie2movement.com. And then you would want to go to contact and bring it to your city. I mean, it really has galvanized the entire pro-life movement. We put this together. We didn't even have a location for this until May, and we already believe that we're going to fill up the auditorium until the fire marshal says we can't have any more people.
Well, and it looks like if a movie can appeal to a young man like you, this chick flick can appeal to a young man like you, this is a movie that is a must-see for young people.
Yeah, because we were discussing the movie actually earlier before we spoke here. It's actually relevant to all pro-lifers because what an unplanned pregnancy in high school is not that different from an unplanned pregnancy in college, an unplanned pregnancy, young adulthood. You're just getting into your career. It really goes through a lot of the struggles of what a young woman, what her boyfriend, what her parents are going to go through. And it's very realistic. You really want to reach in and comfort the characters in the movie. It's very moving. I have that to say about it.
You talked about this not necessarily being a faith-based movie, but it does have faith in it, and not necessarily the whole movement in Young People for Life is faith-based. You talked about an atheist that's heading up the life movement in San Francisco. Now, we as Christians know why we're pro-life. I mean, God tells us that He created life. It's valuable and that we should protect it because it's part of His plan. How do you appeal to, or how is the pro-life movement appealing to those who don't have faith? What brings them into the movement?
A lot of them are what you call like consistent life ethicers. A lot of them are like vegans, and they just oppose killing on a very deep level. So they have their own, framework of life. Obviously not biblical, but I think when you live in America, you're influenced a little bit by biblical morality, just because it's kind of, the dominant culture. And even though it's kind of trash, I think it still kind of comes through. So that's where a lot of them come from. Just kind of a consistent ethical view of the world. And some of the ways that we try and reach out to them is we do apologetics. What we're planning to do this summer is something called the Equal Rights Initiative. It's an apologetics group that basically is completely secular. I mean, the people who run it are religious, but the arguments are secular. And the arguments, the point isn't to win the debate. The point is to change hearts and minds. It's like it teaches you how to get people comfortable, how to get their point of view so that you can actually bring down their defenses and kind of convert people. So what they do is they actually go to college campuses. They put up a big platform, a big table that says, do you support abortion, yes or no? And they actually engage people, and they get people to change their minds. It's a very impressive system.
Now, do you train people? Will you go, say, to the University of Nevada? We have one in Las Vegas. We have one in Reno. Would you come to our campus and train folks to engage?
I mean, I have not done that, but that's what we're going to do this summer. The Equal Rights Initiative is who would do that. They would definitely be able to provide that. We purchased their course. It's actually, if you get it in bulk, it's pretty cheap per person, per individual. So that's who I would look in to do that. But we did a little bit of apologetics earlier last year. We did a quick apologetics course, and then we actually went out and canvassed for a specific bill for the State House. Now, last year was House Bill 1948. This year it's Senate Bill 3, but it actually banned dismemberment abortions and abortions after 20 weeks. So we did some brief apologetics, and we actually knocked on some doors and got some people to call the governor and to call their state reps.
That's amazing. Tell us again, Michael, where we would get this kit. And, for those across the nation are thinking, wow, we need to get our young people involved, and we need to go to college and college campuses, places where young people are congregating, and talk to them about life and the value of life. How do we get this kit and get engaged?
So find the exact website for you. That would be the equalrightsinstitute.com. It's run by the Braun brothers, and it's very, very impressive, very compelling information. That's what we want to plan to our group, because we know that builds the confidence to go out for young people, to go out and talk to people, to have the confidence that they know how to engage, that it's polite but forthright, and still being able to speak the truth.
Well, we're so happy that we engaged with you, Michael Israel, today on this most important issue. And I want you to once again tell us and our listeners about your event and your website, how we can get in contact with you.
Sure. So our information, we primarily run out of Facebook. Because we are a fairly new group. So you would want to search us, facebook.com/Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future. If you want to send us an email, LehighValley@ProLifeFuture.org. Again, LehighValley@ProLifeFuture.org. If you think that you can help us out, if you'd like to give us a gift, we are very, very active in promoting. We always seek to advertise. We seek to use social media, basically as big of the word we can get out. That's our goal. That's our dream. And the movie is being played May 11th at St. Elizabeth Church in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. The movie is going to begin, we want you to be there at 7:30. Jason is going to begin to speak at 7:45, and the movie is going to begin around 8-ish. The movie is free to attend, but please RSVP at Lehigh Valley at ProLifeFuture.org so we know how many people to expect.
Thank you so much, Michael Israel, for being our guest on Conservative Commando's radio show. We hope to have you back with a summary of what happened at your event.
I would love to. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We're coming to you live from Conservative Commando's Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. This is Sharon Angle, along with my co-host, the one and only Anna Little, and we'll be right back after this message with Congressman Paul Brown.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, fellow patriots. The Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners, to Conservative Commandos Radio Show with yours truly, Sharon Angle, and my co-host, the one and only Anna Little. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce our next guest, former Congressman Paul Brown, Dr. Paul Brown, who's a primary care physician who represented the 10th Congressional District of Georgia. While serving in Congress, he was appointed to the House Homeland Security Committee, the House Committee on Natural Resources, and served as chairman of the Investigations and Oversight Subcommittee for the House Science and Technology Committees. Dr. Brown, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio station.
Well, Sharon, it's always a great honor and a pleasure to me to be on Conservative Commandos radio program, and you're one of my heroes. I wish that you had won that election back several years ago, and I wish we had a number of congressmen and senators in Washington today that certainly have the philosophy of limited government that you did. So it's always a great pleasure to talk to you, my friend. And it's good to talk to Anna Little, too. I've had the great pleasure of meeting her by phone with this radio program, but it is, hopefully we'll meet face to face soon, and Rick Trader is a good friend as well, so it's always an honor and pleasure to me to be with y'all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul Brown, and I want you to put that into the present tense. Like you, we're never allowed to really retire, are we? I'm running for Congress again for the 2nd Congressional District here in Nevada, this cycle through in 2018, and of course,
fantastic.
I feel so privileged to have your support in this, so thank you so much for that vote of confidence. And I want to get right to it. You know, you've pretty much voiced what Anna Little and I talked about in our opening, which is courage in Washington, D.C., and what's going on with this legislation that's supposed to be repealed but doesn't look really too much like repeal. In fact, it looks more like incrementalism, and we're just a little bit shaky on where this thing is going. Can you talk to us a little bit about this new health care bill that just passed?
Well, this bill, you're exactly correct, absolutely correct. It does not repeal Obamacare. All it does is amend it and changes it. It is a government-run health care program. It creates another welfare program through the refundable tax credits. It's awful. My good friend, Dr. Rand Paul, U.S. Senator from Kentucky, described it as Obamacare light, and he's exactly correct. This is not the solution to the problem. CBO has said that the prices of health insurance are going to continue to rise. This is going to fail just like Obamacare was designed to fail, in my opinion. And then the Republicans are going to be blamed for it. It is a government-run health care program. If I had been in Congress yesterday, I would have absolutely voted no and tried to get as many people as I possibly could, colleagues in the House, to vote no as well.
Now, why do you think they're not voting no? I know that there was considered effort to bring folks across the finish line on this one and get it passed, and it seemed like there was a bit of coercion going on of the conservatives. Was that what was happening? How did it pass?
Well, it did pass that way. They did add some language to the original bill that was awful, that helped try to bring some conservatives over without running the liberal Republicans, the so-called rhinos. They should be Democrats because their philosophy is socialism. Believe it or not, we've got Republicans in the House and the Senate that have no difference in their philosophy and no different voting pattern than the Democrats do. But they, Paul Ryan put together this bill. I call it Ryan Care. Rand Paul called it Obamacare Light. My good friend from Michigan, Justin Amash, called it Obamacare 2.0. And what they did is they added some language to the bill that would help, one of which is to allow states to only apply for some relief on the mandates that were put in place under Obamacare. Unfortunately, they also tied that to Medicaid. So it is a Democrat-light bill. In fact, I don't think it's even Democrat-light. The Democrats could have put this thing together as well as the Republicans. And Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and all the radical leftist Democrats could have written this bill just the same way that Paul Ryan and company did. It just is a terrible, terrible bill.
So talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned Medicaid expansion. Now, I was under the impression when these passed that they were actually two different things, that there was Obamacare and the states were allowed to opt into that, which I believe 19 ended up opting into the Obamacare and those exchanges. And then there was a separate bill, Medicaid expansion, but somehow these two things have become combined. Is that correct? Or are they still separate? And yet the Democrats are just talking about them as if they're combined.
Well, I think they are combined. I'm not certain of that. I tried just this morning to get the text of it was yesterday morning to get the text of the bill that they voted on yesterday in the House. And Congress.gov was saying that there were no amendments made to the original bill, which we know is totally not true. I could not get the text of the bill that they voted on, but what is going on today, in fact, I talked to my governor just this afternoon about the bill, and what they're doing is apparently they're awarding those states that bought into the Medicaid expansion, and they are rewarding them, and it's hurting states that did not buy into the Medicaid expansion, such as my own state of Georgia. So I have long since promoted that Medicaid go back to what it originally was supposed to do, and that's be a block grant without the federal government micromanaging it, block granted to the states to help the people who really needed it. But there are states like California and New York that have greatly expanded their Medicaid program way, way beyond the poverty level, and the Republicans are rewarding them. What we need to do is Obamacare must go. It is designed to fail. I believe, in fact, I've said in several floor speeches that it was designed to fail. And I believe the Democrats wanted it to do was to fail so that they could go to a single-payer system. They call it Medicare for all. Actually, it will be VA care or worse for all if we go to that single-payer system. But that's what it was designed to do, and it's going to do that if something doesn't happen. Well, this Ryan Care bill is going to fail the same way. Insurance premiums are going to go up for everybody. You're going to have more people who cannot afford to pay for their insurance. You're going to have more people uninsured. It's going to fail just as well if it were passed into law the way it is right now. Now it's going to go over the Senate, and it's going to get worse. But because we know that the Senate is much more liberal in philosophy than the House is. And so a lot of things that are in the bill that they took, that some conservatives are really glowing about being there, such as the partial amount of money that's going to be prevented from going to Planned Parenthood. But they didn't fund Planned Parenthood. They claimed that they did, but they did not defund Planned Parenthood. But I expect the Senate to take out what language that the House put in as an example on the Planned Parenthood issue. So I think it's going to get worse in the Senate. And the American people need to demand that the Republicans have what they have been promising actually occurs. They've been promising since the 2010 election that they were going to repeal Obamacare. Totally repeal it. This does not do that. They're breaking their promise to the American people, and they're setting up Obamacare Light. It's still a government-run health care program. What it's going to do is continue to rise the prices of all goods and services, including insurance, doctor's bills, et cetera, in the healthcare industry. And it's going to be awful. We need to demand something different and better.
We've got to go to a break. Dr. Brown, can you stay with us through the break? I know Anna wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. I'd love to talk to Anna, too.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, FHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7 local.coms. We'll be right back after this brief message with Anna Little, yours truly, Sharon Engel, and our special guest, Congressman Dr. Paul Brown.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the Internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, redstatetalkradio.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999 $11.99. We are speaking this segment with former Congressman Dr. Paul Brown, a primary care physician, and he represented the 10th Congressional District of Georgia. Congressman Dr. Brown, thank you so much for waiting through that break. We do appreciate your time.
And I'm glad to be with y'all. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, well, I think you are uniquely qualified, Dr. Brown, to talk to us about this health care bill. And, I've got a question for you. My biggest concern, and I think the biggest concern of many Americans, was the difficulty we had with government being in the middle between the doctor and the patient in the Obamacare healthcare system. And now we've got this Obamacare light. Have we at least corrected the situation between the doctor and the patient, where care can be directed by the patient with the assistance of their doctor, or directed by the doctor for the benefit of the patient? Did we correct that with this new bill?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, that's a big part of the problem. When I was in Congress, I wrote the Option Act. It's H.R. 2900 in the 113th Congress that would correct that problem. In fact, my bill is the only Republican bill at the time, and I don't know of any other since then, that truly puts the patient and the doctors in the charge of making all their health care decisions. You see, the reason that health care is so expensive, and that's all health care goods and services, whether it's insurance, the doctor's bill, hospital bills, everything, government is the problem. It's not the solution. Government is the problem. Ronald Reagan, in fact, in his famous quote, mentioned that government is the problem, and he was absolutely correct. The thing is, what's going on is right now with the Ryan Care bill, with Obamacare, and even the health care system prior to Obamacare, the federal government, through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, we call it CMS, directs or dictates healthcare policy. And then the private insurance companies follow that policy that's put forward by the federal government. Also, CMS sets pricing, and what it does is it continues to cause the cost of all goods and services in the healthcare field to continue to skyrocket. We've got to get the regulatory burden and the mandates out of the system, and we've got to get the federal government from setting pricing as well as policy. That is what will lower the cost of health care for everybody. That's what I did in the Option Act, H.R. 2900. As I mentioned, I introduced it in the 113th Congress. This bill does not do that. This bill still has the federal government setting policy. And let me just give you an example of how federal mandates and federal policy affects the cost of health care. If someone came to my office a number of years ago with a sore throat or sinus infection or bronchitis, I had a little lab in my office where I do a complete blood count to see if they had a bacterial infection and thus needed antibiotics, or a viral infection where antibiotics will not help. And all three of those problems could be equally, in fact, most of throat infections, sinus infections, and bronchitis are caused by viruses. Antibiotics don't help, and patients don't need to spend that money. But I did a little test, a CBC, complete blood count, to see if they needed antibiotics or not. It cost $12. Congress passed a law called CLIA, the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Act, that outlawed my little lab and doctors' labs all across the country. To do the same test that I charged $12 for, I would have to send the patient over to the hospital. Instead of getting the results in 5 minutes, it would take 2 to 3 hours. It cost $75 for one test, from $12 to $75 for one test, because of government mandates and government being involved in the healthcare system. What do you think that did to the cost of insurance to everybody in this country? We've got to get things such as CLIA and all these other mandates that the federal government has imposed upon the healthcare system out of this system and stop the federal government from setting pricing. That's what's going to lower the cost and make my bill, the Option Act, would have made healthcare cheaper for everybody, would have given access to good quality health care for all Americans, no matter what their financial status was, no matter what their pre-existing conditions were, and would save Medicare from going broke. But the Republicans in Congress are not doing what it's going to take to stop the problem. Ryan Care is awful. It's going to fail just like Obamacare is failing, and the American people deserve better. We need to contact our senators and congressmen and say, you promised that you were going to repeal Obamacare. This bill, the American Health Care Act, does not do that. Get rid of it. Let's start over again. Let's have a repeal of Obamacare. Let's block grant Medicaid back to the states based on only one thing, and that's the poverty level, so that all states are equal, and let's really lower the cost of health care for everybody.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. You know, the block granting back to the states, I think, is the answer with regard to those federal programs. That, you know, the middleman interrupting the relationship between the doctor and the patient is a huge problem. Not only does it drive up costs, but the idea that it needs to be approved by the government, a treatment or a protocol or even medicine. I mean, I've had trouble with prescriptions where the doctor wants me to take one thing, and then you go to the pharmacist and they say your insurance won't cover it. And then there's this battle royale between the doctor and the insurance rep. It's really something. So I love your suggestions, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity through Tom Price to try to implement some of these changes and then perhaps turn it into some kind of a law down the road. But it certainly is a difficulty when you're starting off with something that's Obamacare light, and that's what we've got. So, Doctor, tell our listeners, time flies when we're having fun here. Tell our listeners where they can follow your version of what the healthcare system ought to look like.
Well, they can go on congress.gov, and there is a mechanism. They'll find it on the homepage where they can search a bill. And what they need to do is click on the 113th Congress. That's when it was introduced, and put in H.R. 2900, H.R. 2900 in the 113th Congress, and they can read the bill. Dr. Price had his own bill, which is a lot better than this Ryan Care bill, in my opinion, though Dr. Price's bill still had federal government setting prices, setting policy, and still had those problems that you asked me about, where the federal government stands between the doctor and the patient. We've got to get the patient and doctor relationship to being sacred and totally uninterfered. Is that a word? Not interfered with by the federal dictates and federal bureaucrats. And so the American people are going to have to demand it. And the way to do that is call your congressmen, call your senators, send them an email and say, this is not what you promised. If you pass this bill, we're going to, if you don't fulfill your promise, then we're going to get rid of you. We're going to find somebody else, somebody like Sharon Angle, who's going to serve in Congress, who's going to fulfill the promise that they make. So it's up to the American people. We, the people, have that power if we'll just exercise it. And it's absolutely critical that we stop Ryan Care and then repeal Obamacare and put in place policy such as My Option Act. And that's what the American people need to demand.
Well, Dr. Congressman Paul Brown, thank you so much for spending this time with us today on Conservative Commandos Radio. We hope you'll come back and see us again soon.
Y'all just invite me, and people can contact me by emailing me at Paul, P-A-U-L, at paulbrown.com. And it's B-R-O-U-N. My family can't spell, I can't pronounce, but it's Paul at paulbrown.com. It's Brown with a U, not a W, B-R-O-U-N. Paul at paulbrown.com.
Thank you so much. That was Congressman Dr. Paul Brown helping us out with this healthcare debacle, and I guess we're still not out of the woods. But Sharon, time flies when we're having fun. We are at the end of our show. Can you believe it?
It's always unbelievable to me that we can spend 2 hours talking to each other and it goes by faster than any 2 hours in my life.
But it's the best 2 hours of my week every week, and I want to thank you. We've got to thank our guests. We had Tina Whittington of the Students for Life. We had Michael Israel from Lehigh Valley Pro-Life Future, and just most recently, Congressman Dr. Paul Brown about the health care bill. But unfortunately, we at Conservative Commandos are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. So take care. God bless, and we'll see you next week on the radio.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.